Hello, welcome to the online lecture. These simple tricks will make you a Windows expert. It's a bit of a joke, but we'll be going over the various tools and some techniques that we can use in Windows to use it more effectively and to, in the case of PowerShell, administer it very effectively. So let's get started. First, I've got the virtual operating system up and running right here. I might not be 100% default. I think I got it back pretty close, but from my various messing around. But bear with me in that regard. But I'll be switching back and forth between the presentation and that virtual machine. So first we're going to talk about this start menu. We've talked about how we have the old start menu was a bit of a trap for Windows, especially as they tried to go into the mobile market. So they had the Metro system, which would take up the full screen, and now they have a hybrid cross between the two of them. The live tiles were the pictures in the start menu. Here we go. I'm going to bring it up. These are the start, and you can see they move, and they have various pictures in them. A lot of people don't like them, but you can organize them. You can move them around. Here's PowerShell, for example. If I want to put PowerShell under Explore, I can do that. I can move it to Explore and various other options. I could change the name of Create if I want. And to be honest, over the myself personally, I often do this. I do customize my start menu and change the names around and leave it as it is. Many companies would have a set standard to make them as uniform as possible, particularly if users are going to be calling help desk and looking for support. It'd be nice to make assumptions on where things are. However, users often have the ability to customize it. All right. On the left is our big list of all our apps that have been properly installed and registered with our machine. They'll be on the left, organized by title, and recently added. The last recently added app would be top of the list. All right. We talked about live tiles, the menu. We do have a settings. The best way to get there is kind of bring up settings here. I left click on the little gear and type in start settings right there. And then there's more stuff you can do. You can show more tiles. You can show most used apps if you wish. You can go Metro style and make it take up the whole screen like that. There you go. If you did like Metro. We'll turn that off. Show recently opened items and jump lists on start menu. Personally, I'm a fan of getting rid of the app list and making it as compact as usable, but that's your choice. All right, so there we go. All right, customization, again, we kind of talked about that. We have customization. These are pinned folders, so you can actually add those to your pin. Whoop, that's my own, excuse me. You can actually add those to your own folder. So if you wanted to add something to your pin, we'd get the big list of all apps, and we'd say, Edge is probably already there. I know that's there. Let's add Skype. It's actually in the start. Oops, sorry. How about the video editor? We can pin that to start, and we'll go back to the start menu. Oop. And there it is on the bottom, so we'll group it in with Create. There we go. Now it's grouped in with Create. All right. So relatively simple to do. Oh, there's my File Explorer, which we'll get to a little bit later. All right. So we have a right-click menu. So what I'm referring to in the right-click menu is the menu that you get when you right-click on Start menu. Okay, so it's quite powerful. You have a lot of good shortcuts here. Event Viewer we'll talk about later, but System you might have brought up already in one of the labs to get the actual version, Windows 10, Education, or if you right-click and go to, you can open PowerShell here, Disk Management, which we will use certainly. We're going to use Disk Management to create virtual disks. As you can see there, we have lots of disks. Anyway, device manager, of course, is very important as well. So you have lots of different shortcuts by right-clicking on the Start menu. All right. So let's talk about the taskbar and the Action Center. I am a big fan of the taskbar, as you can probably see on the bottom here. This is my personal taskbar. Here's the taskbar we have for our project right here. Taskbar is listed right here. I can right-click off of it. I can execute, so I can open up a new in-private window. I can right-click on Microsoft Edge, or if I go to PowerShell, which I think I've added, it's not there by default. I just naturally add one really quickly most of the time when I'm working with Windows. But I can run as administrator. I can run ISE, integrated shell, which we'll talk about in a sec. Or I can right-click on it and run as administrator here, right? Or I can go to properties and let's just say add a shortcut. So if I do Control-Alt-P and hit apply, and if I'm in here and I hit Control-P, it's going to pop up PowerShell automatically. That's because that's in the properties of this this shortcut that's here. All right. So there you go. This is the taskbar. We can also add things to the taskbar. So say we want to add our video editor here. We keep picking on. We right-click on it. We can tell it to. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention you can resize the size of your tiles. You can have a small tile. You can have a large tile by right-clicking on it in the Start menu. You can also pin to the taskbar. So if we left-click on that, it brings it over and it puts the movie video editor. It pins it. A couple more things. Another thing we want to talk about is the system tray or the Action Center. So the Action Center is over here. That's this list. We don't have any notifications, but if we had anything to do, then they would be listed here, or there'd be problems or any notifications, updates that need to be made. It's been a while since we scanned the hard drive for viruses. That type of thing will pop up here. Need to update your virus protection, that type of thing. That'll pop up in the Action Center. It's part of the security protocol suite. All right, so let's move back over to here. We're going to start talking about window management. So let's do that right now. I'm going to open up a bunch of windows, and in your lab, I'm going to have you do this stuff too. We'll open up testing as a separate one, therefore it looks very different. This is a very powerful tool that a lot of people don't even realize how powerful it is, or that they're using it all the time, right? So if I go to up here to this is called the ribbon, the various the menu ribbon. I can change this size of these icons, and I just kind of want to do that to make it look a little different. So different things I can do with my windows. As you can see, I manually minimized right there. I'm going to open up another one. Let's just open up downloads. All right, so I have 3 different windows that are now open. All right, so what I can do is I can snap to, as we call it. Let's actually go thing by thing. So I'd minimized. I can maximize as well. Let me show you that. So I can minimize by hitting a little minus key. I can maximize by hitting this square. It'll maximize, and I can hit the X to close out. All right, and that just kind of stacks the window. All right, so let's talk about some other things we can do with it. We can snap to. We'll talk about stacking, and we'll do side by side. All right, so we can snap to. So if we snap to, what we do is we drag it to the side. If we drag it to the side, see how, I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it kind of transparency pops up, and then it's going to put these other 2 on the side. I can just click off of here, and it will put them back as normal. Or when I snap to, I can say I want this other one on the side to do like a side-by-side comparison. Really useful if you have, like, for example, Notepad. There you go, Notepad, and I'm doing some kind of work, and I'm testing something out and looking at the 2 or writing it down. All right, and notice when I drag it off to, it resumes back to its normal size, to what it was before. All right, there's also another option. I'll put that back. There's also another option. Somehow Notepad is there. Oh, that's the preview. All right. Preview pane opened up on me. So if you click it up top here, it will maximize. All right, so there's another snap to too. So if you click up top, it'll maximize, and it won't do anything down below. But it'll snap to the left, snap to the right, and it'll snap up top, and it'll maximize. All right. So let's talk about stacking. So to stack your windows, what you want to do is you right-click on your task view, which we'll talk about a little bit more. All the powers we can do with task view. First of all, if you click on task view, you get a list of all your windows that you currently have running. But say you have a bunch of windows and you're trying to look at them all at the same time. We'll make this a little bit weirder sized. There you go. So what we can do is we can right-click on this and tell it to show window stacked. And when it stacks them, it kind of arranges them like that so you can see them all. Or you can cascade the windows, which means they're going to put them one by another. Cascade effect like that. You can also undo that as well. Show the desktop, so you just see the desktop. Show open windows, we'll pop them all back up. And side by side. So again, I'll show them side by side like that. So there you go. That's some quick things you can do with the taskbar. The other really cool, or task view. The other really cool thing you can do with task view is set up multiple desktops. As you see, I have a blank desktop here. What I could do is say, listen, I want, well, as I often do, I'll have PowerShell running on one desktop, and then I can actually create another desktop, new desktop. Right, click it right here, and we'll go on that one. And let's just say, just so I show you can do this, I can go to desktop 1. And if I click on task view, I can drag one of these windows over to desktop 3. There you go. So on desktop 2, I've got these two, and let's just open Notepad for good measure. So I'm going to go start. I'll type Notepad. Yeah, Notepad. Thought I typed it. Hello. I think I know what happened. All right, I was typing on my other desktop. All right, so here's Notepad. So I have up Notepad. We'll snap that over there. We'll snap this over here. And we're doing something. We're working on some project, okay? But I can go between my desktops, go back to PowerShell, or go back here, the internet, whatever I have running over here. And I can switch between these three desktops. So it's a fairly powerful tool that you can play with. All right. Another fun thing you can do is that we talked about virtual desktops and task view. Last thing we haven't talked about is shake. So let's switch this person back to the other desktop. So we're going to hit task view, and we're going to move this one over back to desktop 1. If I go to desktop 1 and I just want to focus, let's say, on this window here, what I can do is this shake. And if I shake it, it minimizes everything else. There you go. That's shake. Okay. All right. So there you go. Let's talk about the system tray. That's a very important feature. The system tray is down here. These are systems that are currently running. They're hiding some of the icons in here because they tend to build up. In this case, I have a device that's in here. A lot of devices, interestingly. I guess I can inject the SCSI disks. Interesting. So they're coming up as USB devices. That must be a new feature in VMware. But anyway, these are USB devices. Here's Windows Defender, Bluetooth. If I want to connect up a Bluetooth device, I can do it through this. I'm right-clicking on this to get this menu, by the way. If I left-click, I'll get a, well, in this case I got a right-click, but if I left-click, for example, on Windows Defender, I believe Windows Defender will eventually pop up. And here's our VMware tools running. Okay. Over here is my network access. There'd be a warning symbol if I didn't have internet. I can click on this to bring up my touch keyboard. That's for touch screens. And here's my clock, my system clock running in the corner. All right. But anyway, these system tray icons tend to eat up a little chunk of memory, so you want to be judicious in what you use down there. All right, let's talk about send to and path. And as we're going to do that, we're going to talk about our good friend File Explorer. This is File Explorer. I'm going to turn off preview. I don't think that's default. I don't know how that got turned on, actually. We're going to turn off the preview pane. So there we go. This is Windows Defender, a powerful tool that none of us know we have. We just use it without even thinking about it. So in a lab, if I tell you to use File Explorer, this is what I'm talking about. So if I view things, I can change the view. There you go. Make it. So these are called ribbons up here, by the way. All right. We're going to talk about the various. Let me go back to the. There you go. So we have our File Explorer. We have our ribbons. Okay. We have File, Home, Share, and View. All right. So let's talk about those. File. One of the more powerful tools in there. I can get a new window if I want. Or what's really cool, and we'll see this in a bit. Let's go here, and let's just say, let's open up, actually, let's open up System 32. So if I go to Windows and I go to System 32, by the way, I can click on one of these and just start typing out the word. It'll move me down there, right? So I just typed SYS and I got down there. So if I highlight something else, SYS, I go down, so I should need to go back up to the folders. So if I type SYS, I'm on System. I want to get to System 32. If I want to do some work in here with PowerShell, all I have to do is hit File, open Windows PowerShell, and I can open a PowerShell as an administrator, or regular PowerShell. I'll click on that, and it's going to come up in that directory. All right, so FYI when we talk about PowerShell later on. And we'll start working on scripting and stuff like that. It's a very powerful tool for. Well, it's a very helpful tool. All right, so that's File. Home is going to have just stuff that you can do inside your Home folder. Home is where you normally start off, and it's kind of a collection of all the various cool tools that you can use. You know, if you click on a file, for example, I can go to Home, well, let's get on Win32 actually. If I go to Documents, I go to Testing, and I click on Test, for example. I go Home, I can copy the path. That might be useful if I go to PowerShell, for example, and I can right-click and I get the path. There you go. Okay. Again, useful if you're doing any scripting or anything along those lines. But you can copy, paste, cut. There's buttons to do it. Move to, copy to, which we'll talk about. We can delete things, rename things. If you like buttons, personally, myself, I like to hit F2 and I just hit F2 and it'll let me automatically rename it. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, Control X to cut. All right. So that's the big thing about Home. Share are various sharing options. So if there was a folder, like I want to share out my testing folder here, I could share it out and share it, and also zip it up here too. So I could share it and set some security standards. And the last one is View. View is a big deal, and we'll talk about this with Send To. If you notice, if I right-click on this PowerShell script, right, I might want the ability to send it to Notepad, which I can do here, but that's partly because this is a script, by the way. This is a PowerShell script that you'll be making in a lab. I might want to be able to move it to Notepad. If you right-click right now and look at your Send To, you don't have Notepad. And the reason why, and I'll show you, Send To is just a simple folder. Windows reads that folder whenever you right-click and mouse over on Send To. Send To is located at, actually, why don't we cheat and do in the lab, this comes as a bit of a surprise, but actually I got to do the run command. So if I do Control R, oh, that's why. Sorry, I meant Windows R. There we go. Windows R, and I type in shell. In other words, I'm going to open up a shell, a file explorer to the system variable, which is Send To. If I left click on it, although the fun part about this is not being able to see it. If you notice, I have a shortcut to Notepad here. That's why I have that there. All right. Now, fun fact, if I go to CIT admin, that's where it was located. It was under my user profiles, which we haven't talked about. But that's under C, users, CIT admin. Notice how I have some of the folders here that are grayed out, and I have some files here. That's because this was set to view hidden items. If I hide that, they go away. Bye-bye. All right, so in order for me to do this, I actually have to be able to view hidden items because I need app data, roaming, Microsoft, Windows, send to. There I am, and there's my notepad and test. Fun fact, you can actually put a shortcut to send to in send to. I right click, say create a shortcut. We'll have a little fun, hit F2 here. Send to send to send to. There you go, and I right click on that, and then I can move it to send to. My default action when I left click and drag when it's volume to volume is to move. I left click, I'd move it to send to. Now I have a shortcut called to send to. So if I want to put something in send to, hit the wrong button there. Good thing it asked me. If I wanted to go to send to, let's close some of this stuff out. So I would just right click on something to demonstrate that we now have the ability to send to send to. All right. So there's send to in a nutshell. Let's go back to our presentation. We have path. So path kind of goes back to earlier DOS days, and let me just bring it up first, and we'll see what it looks like. So the quickest way there really is if you type in, if you bring up the start menu, bring up settings, and type path into the field here, you'll get edit the system environmental variables. Click on that. Under advanced, you're going to get this window, and you're going to click on environmental variables. Click on path, edit, there you go. There's your edit path. Now, what that does for you is if I open up PowerShell, and I think of something that's not in system. Oh, I think I know. I'll do Internet Explorer, which so we'll find it on the hard drive here. Internet Explorer is located in Program Files, Internet Explorer, and here it is, iExplore. Okay, so if I wanted to run iExplore from my, oh, I clicked and dragged and grabbed the whole thing. It's been a nasty habit of mine. Been messing with my poor virtual machine. So if I click and if I type iExplore, even if I put this /, it will fail. All right. Or I just put it in right now, enter, or I put the exe. It's going to fail in any case because it doesn't know where it is. Okay, but if I modify the oh, I don't want to edit that one. I want a new one. If I add the path, which by the way, a couple things, I can go to home and do copy path if I grab the Explorer, or I can go in the address bar here and grab that. So Control copy. I almost minimized the whole virtual machine again. We're going to again do new, and we're going to hit this. So we're putting that in. Unfortunately, I need to reboot the whole machine if I remember correctly. And I think that's true. I don't think it liked me doing that. So maybe if I, there you go. So I hit OK. I'm going to have to restart the whole virtual machine to do it. I'm pretty sure. Path is loaded up when it boots up, so it's not going to be here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to restart the whole operating system. This is where I get in trouble for doing such things. And we'll pick it up when this thing reboots. All right. Next thing we want to talk about, we got that path, File Explorer. We did talk about File Explorer and the ribbons. The next subject we're going to talk about is PowerShell. You saw me using it right there. It's a powerful tool, although you can say, wait, that looks different. We'll get into that in a second. But built on .NET framework. It's open sourced. You can get it on GitHub. Matter of fact, this link will actually have you go out there in theory. Yep, here's PowerShell right here. PowerShell is essentially a scripting tool for, where's my toolbar? We'll do this. And I'll hit present again, so it goes full screen. All right. So it's a scripting tool for administrators. You can write scripts, as you saw. I had one a little bit before. You can also run commands, as you saw right there. I restarted Windows through PowerShell. Here I am. So I'm going to log back in now. I'm going to send a Control-Delete, and I'm going to type in the password. And there we go. We're logging in. PowerShell is a critical tool. We can spend an entire semester learning how to script, and it's a full programming language. So you can run ifs, thens. We'll be doing a little bit of programming with it in the we'll be doing a little bit of programming with it in the lab. But as you can see right there, if I type iExplore, it pops right up. I get iExplorer now. Okay, because it learned of the path. That's what happened. With that path command, it knows to look in that directory I told it to look for any commands that might run in there. All right. That's the path command. Yes. So PowerShell, you can do the get command. So we have what's called commandlets. All right. In PowerShell. Now, case in point, like ipconfig is an old DOS command. All right, it's not a commandlet. Commandlets run on what we call a verb noun. So get command, right? Some other cool things you can do with it. Get, right? If I do a C and I tab, it's going to put up get certificate because that was the first hit. But if I put a COM and I tab it out, all I did was hit tab, it will finish the command for me. I can hit enter, it's going to give me all the commandlets, okay? It won't, it'll give me some DOS commands, but it won't give me all of them. I think I can actually do get command dash all, and then I also get all this good stuff too. These are all these other commands, some DOS commands, some alias, shortcuts, that kind of thing. All right, I can actually refine it. Let's do config. So there you go. These are all the commands that have config before config. I can do a star after star 4. I'm going to get a lot more, right? Star, by the way, being a wildcard search. So anything before config. In this case, I put anything before or after config. There you go. I get different stuff. So there you go. There's the commands from PowerShell. You can. There's two types of PowerShell. This is regular PowerShell. I alluded to this earlier. If I right-click on this and select a Windows PowerShell ISE, ISE stands for Integrated Scripting Environment. All right, and what we're going to get here is both a PowerShell on the left, what essentially is a script. And let me open a script up from your lab, actually. So let me do a file open, and I'm going to open up test. Yes, open. There we go. That's what we're going to be doing in our lab. All right. And what happens is this looks like, oh, it's a simple menu to do certain things. Okay. So anyway, this is, as you can see, there's a while command in here. There's if-else if command. So it's like it's a high-level programming language. All right. If I wanted to add something to it, by the way, I can actually go into here. We'll say add bits file. I can click show details. I can give it the job name. I'll have to give it a source, which I don't think I can easily replicate, but we'll try. We'll call it test, and we'll go to the source, and we'll give it a actual test. See if that works. Test. All right. So if I do insert, there you go. There's the command. Okay, it actually runs the command in for me. That's pretty nice, okay? I can run it. I can also just copy it and then go over here and paste it into my code, all right? If I wanted to run my commands, I can actually just click this. Let me get rid of this here and delete all that out of there. And if I want to run this command, this program, and test it, see if it works, I can click on Run Script, F5. Will be saved, sure, okay. And there you go. It's functioning right here. What's your name? So there. Oop, my focus is up there. I didn't mean to do that. So Jason, enter. There you go. All right, so there's the actual program we're going to write in our lab. All right, I can close it. Do you want to save it? No, no, thank you. We'll exit out of this. Control C. So there you go. There's ISC. So it's like a scripting environment. Okay. What else do we want to talk about? Scripts are saved as a PS. Well, there's a bunch of different formats. So if I put garbage legal care and do a file, save as, it will let me save as a bunch of different file names, PowerShell files. I like PS1, it's not limited to PS1, but for simple scripts, it'll work. ISC normal view, and it's a great remote administration tool. So for Microsoft administrators, PowerShell, not so much ISE. ISE is primarily for developing scripts, but you could run scripts on a machine, which makes it very powerful, particularly if you group it with Active Directory. But if I do a get command, you're going to see some commands here that are meant to be run on just a single machine. We can set some of these commands, and we can have remote machines, okay? And we can run these commands on remote machines as long as we have the credentials to do so. So it's a very powerful administrative tool, okay? PowerShell. Matter of fact, that's how the Russians were able to get files off the DNC computers, as they were running PowerShell commands. Let's see, remote administration tool. All right, so as the verb noun format, remember that. Get command is very powerful. This right here would start and everything that ends in service. It would give me an example of everything that ended in service. So that summarizes everything that we have. The next thing you should do is work your way onto the lab with that accompanies this. We'll go over all these tools, so hopefully by using them that you'll get familiar with them and use them in the future. All right, have a good time, and I'll talk to you later.